She's Algerian and a Middle East commentator. Thanks for coming in. Let's just start, if I may, with President Mubarak's wealth. I mean, what do we think is the extent of that?
Well, it's very hard to give a precise estimate of his wealth, but what we know for sure is he's been heading the country for 30 years, and he's got plenty of time to accumulate and pile up billions of dollars, as it were. And I think if we go through the listing of, in Forbes magazine, for example, listing of the wealthiest people in the world, we might be able to establish how much he's worth.
OK, now, as events are still very fluid on the ground in Tahrir Square, we can see that the demonstrators are refusing to leave because they want the army to announce that timetable. What is the risk now, do you think, of contagion? I mean, it's something that's been discussed for many weeks when we saw the self-immolations. But where do you think this is moving now?
Well, I think what's very clear is that the changes of regimes in Tunisia and now in Egypt have very much inspired the Algerians, who organised themselves. Pro-democracy groups poured into the streets yesterday. Thousands were demonstrating to try and bring about an end of the President Bouteflika's regime. But there has been a very sinister crackdown. The police forces are ruthless. Thousands have been arrested. Prison cells were overflowing. They resorted to all sorts of tactics. Even internet providers and Facebook accounts were shut down. Roads and train stations were blocked. And the main square where they were gathering, the May the 1st square, has been shut as well, in an attempt to prevent it from turning into a Tahrir Square.
And are the conditions, are the social demographics in Tunisia, do they run parallel to what we've seen in Tunisia and Egypt, in terms of population, education and rising food prices?
I think Algeria shares the same problems as many Arab countries. Widespread poverty, endemic corrupt regime, and lack of opportunities, mass unemployment. The government has tried to address soaring food prices early in January by dealing with the producers, and it diffused basically the demonstrations because it relies on its vast energy wealth to address economic issues. But we've moved beyond that in Algeria now. People want democracy.
OK, but of course, great instability in your country in the recent 15, 20 years, particularly with Muslim Islamist groups as well, and they have been clamped down very hard. What is the appetite, you think, within your country, were democratic elections to be held, for a resurgence of something like that?
Well, you're quite right to highlight Algeria has had a lot more of internal violence than Egypt, say, or Tunisia.
It was impossible for foreigners to travel outside Algiers at one stage, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, the War of Independence is still in living memory. Algeria only gained independence in 1962. The 1990s were marked and indeed marred by bloody civil war. And as you highlighted, we've got extremely radical terrorist groups, and the security state is designed to deal with them. So you can just imagine how ruthless they're going to be against ordinary citizens who are gathering peacefully to try to bring about change.
OK, Nabila Ramdani, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.